Before we dive into this gripping story, let us know where you're watching from in the comments. And if you enjoy tales like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more compelling narratives. It started like any other day at the airport. Bianca Maxwell walked through the bustling terminal with a quiet confidence that turned a few heads. Dressed in a tailored navy blazer and matching skirt, she carried herself with poise. Her leather laptop bag hung neatly from her shoulder, and in her hand, she held her boarding pass. Bianca's natural curls framed her face, and her calm demeanor suggested she was no stranger to the first-class experience. She reached her assigned seat in first class, storing her bag in the overhead compartment before settling into the plush leather chair. Pulling out a slim notebook and pen, she began jotting down notes, her focus unwavering. Bianca's calmness radiated, but there was a fire of determination in her eyes that hinted she wasn't someone easily dismissed. Moments later, Cassie Rivers, one of the flight attendants, entered the first-class cabin. Cassie's sharp gaze swept over the passengers, dressed impeccably in her uniform. She exuded authority, a fact she seemed keen to emphasize. Her eyes landed on Bianca, and she paused. "Excuse me," Cassie said, her tone polite but edged with something less kind. "May I see your boarding pass?" Bianca looked up, surprised but unflustered. With a small smile, she handed over the slip of paper. "Of course," she said. Cassie examined the ticket, her frown deepening as though searching for a flaw. She handed it back without a word, her lips pressed into a tight line. Though she walked away, her demeanor suggested she wasn't done with Bianca. Bianca returned to her notes, seemingly unbothered by the brief interaction. But across the cabin, Cassie spoke to another flight attendant, a young man named Alex. They exchanged whispers, with Cassie occasionally glancing toward Bianca. The tension in her posture was visible even from afar. A few minutes later, Cassie approached Bianca again. Her expression had hardened. "Miss Maxwell, could you step aside for a moment? There seems to be an issue with your booking." Bianca blinked but rose gracefully, laptop bag in hand. She followed Cassie to the galley at the front of the plane. Passengers exchanged curious glances, whispering among themselves. "What seems to be the issue?" Bianca asked calmly, though a flicker of annoyance crossed her face. Cassie crossed her arms. "It appears there's been a mistake. This seat isn't appropriate for you. I'll have to ask you to move to the main cabin." The words hung in the air, their weight unmistakable. Bianca's composure faltered for the briefest moment before she recovered. "I'm sorry, but my ticket is valid. I don't understand why I'd need to move." Cassie's tone grew colder. "I've already verified it. Either you move, or I'll have to involve security." Bianca's eyes narrowed slightly, but she nodded once. Without another word, she returned to her seat to gather her belongings. The entire cabin seemed to watch as she was escorted to a cramped middle seat in the main cabin. Bianca sat down, her back straight and her expression calm, though her grip on her bag betrayed her frustration. As the flight settled into its rhythm, Bianca reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She typed a quick message. "Something's happened. Monitor the situation." Back in first class, Cassie moved through the cabin with an air of satisfaction. She ensured drinks were served and passengers were comfortable. But her thoughts kept drifting back to Bianca. Something about the woman's unflappable demeanor unsettled her, though she couldn't articulate why. Meanwhile, Bianca's new flight attendant, Natalie, approached her cautiously. "Ma'am, is everything all right?" she asked gently. Bianca smiled warmly. "Thank you for asking, Natalie. I'm fine." Her tone was genuine, easing the younger attendant's concern. Natalie hesitated before placing a cup of water on Bianca's tray. "If there's anything you need, just let me know." Bianca's smile widened slightly. "I appreciate that." Unbeknownst to Cassie, Bianca had set wheels in motion. 10 minutes later, the intercom buzzed. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying with us. If there's anything you need, our crew is here to assist." Bianca glanced toward the front of the plane. Her expression was unreadable as she jotted another note in her notebook. Whatever she was planning, it was clear she wasn't finished. Cassie's day took a turn when the galley phone buzzed. Alex answered, then handed it to her. It's for you. From corporate. Cassie's heart skipped a beat. This is Cassie Rivers, she said. The voice on the other end was calm but firm. We've received a complaint about your handling of a first-class passenger. Miss Maxwell is connected to the airline's executive board. Ensure she's treated with the utmost respect for the remainder of the flight. Cassie's face paled. Understood, she stammered. Hanging up, she turned to Alex, who raised an eyebrow. What happened? He asked. Cassie didn't answer. Instead, she glanced toward the main cabin, where Bianca sat. The calm woman's presence now felt overwhelming. Bianca's phone buzzed. She read the message and smirked. Her calm exterior concealed her satisfaction. The power dynamic had shifted, and she intended to make it clear. Cassie approached Bianca with a tray of sparkling water. Miss Maxwell, she began, her voice softer than before. I want to personally apologize for earlier. It was a misunderstanding. Bianca tilted her head, her gaze sharp. A misunderstanding? Cassie's forced smile faltered. If there's anything I can do to make it right? Bianca's lips curved into a faint smile. I'm sure the airline will address it appropriately after we land. Cassie's stomach sank. Bianca's calm yet cutting response made it clear this wasn't over. When the plane landed, Bianca waited until the aisle was nearly empty before disembarking. As she approached the exit, Cassie forced another smile. Thank you for flying with us. Miss Maxwell. Bianca paused. I'm sure we'll be in touch, she said smoothly before walking away. Moments later, 2 uniformed officers entered the plane. Cassie Rivers, one asked. Cassie's heart dropped. Yes, she whispered. We need to speak with you about an incident during the flight, the officer said firmly. As Cassie was escorted away, Bianca stood in the terminal, watching calmly. Her phone buzzed. The message read, Security is handling it. The board is aware. Bianca typed a response, Good. Let's ensure this doesn't happen again. Sliding her phone into her bag, Bianca walked toward baggage claim, her steps confident and purposeful. She had turned a moment of humiliation into an opportunity for systemic change. This was only the beginning. The ripple effect. In the days following the incident, the airline announced sweeping reforms. Sensitivity training became mandatory for all staff, and stricter protocols were implemented to prevent discrimination. Bianca's role in sparking these changes wasn't publicized, but those who needed to know understood her impact. Cassie, meanwhile, faced the consequences of her actions. Terminated from her position, she was left to reflect on the biases that had led her to underestimate Bianca. For the first time, she saw how much her snap judgment had cost her and others. Bianca, ever composed, continued her work behind the scenes, ensuring the airline followed through on its promises. She wasn't seeking revenge. She sought accountability and progress. And with every step forward, she proved that change begins with one determined voice. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful narratives. See you in the next one.